If you've just joined us, thank you so much for watching The Full View. My name is Bongi Wezwane. We're coming to you live from KwaZulu-Natal at Springfield Value Centre. This is where we saw devastation during the July unrest. It was not only ransacked by looters, but at the same time was satellite, which means now the process of rebuilding is underway. And this is not unique to KwaZulu-Natal. Various other malls are trying to rebuild and get back on their feet. What does it look like then for business, especially those who say that they do not want to come back into the province, but others are saying they're resilient and they're staying on? What does that resilience then look like? Let's have a conversation that explores this further. We've got with us Mr. Vivian Reddy, one of the leading philanthropists in KwaZulu-Natal, who contributed over 250 million rand to causes and creating thousands of jobs throughout his new developments. And we'll find out from him what makes KwaZulu-Natal attractive when others are saying they're going away. And we've got Stembile Ngobese, Director of Corporate Affairs Southern Africa at Unilever. We also have Nigel Ward, President of the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Marcus Richards, independent activist and small business owner. Thank you so much to you all for your time. Mr. Reddy, I'll begin with you. It's a year we saw violent scenes unfold in KwaZulu-Natal. At the same time, a lot of people were still trying to deal with the pandemic. Then the floods hit. It's been one disaster after another. What are your reflections over a year?
Well, I was in the midst of building a 4.5 billion rand project, and we went through everything: the pandemic, the floods, the rioting, but we didn't stop. What is important in life, we never ever give up. The project, we opened the Radisson Blue Hotel to glorious reviews just 20 days ago. Our new Oceans Mall with lots of international brands opens in October, and our residential towers opens in December next year. And we just continue investing. And the idea is that, I've had international brands, CEOs and CEOs come to South Africa, top brands, and they didn't even raise this. They didn't raise the rights, and they talked about how they are in other countries, whether it be Paris, New York, London. They've all had the rights, they've had the uprising, they've had the bad weathers, and what we got to be just part of the world. It is unfortunate, it should never happen, but the reality, we could either choose to look backwards or you go forward, and that's what we did. We looked forward and we said we're going to continue to invest, and we got involved in more projects, and we've got great confidence. This is a great province. We've got the great city of eThekwini. It's got good leadership, and we've got every confidence and support from the political leaders, and that's why we will continue to invest. And the people also, we are selling apartments, very expensive apartments, and every week we sell 10 of them. It means that the people still have confidence in this province, and you must have heard this throughout the evening, saying we are resilient. We as KwaZulu-Natal business people are very resilient, and we would never give up to issues like writing and negativities. We are all about the positive. This province has got more positive than negatives, and that's where we focus on.
And, Stembile, when you look at what we saw unfold, the previous year, a lot of people, when they're reflecting, may not share what Mr. Reddy says, because they say, nothing works, it's difficult, it was bad. How did you, as a business, say what he's saying, rise above it all, continue, and say that you still remain in this province?
I think, Bongi, for us, priority with the leadership team was to make sure that we take care of our employees. We have 2,000 plus in KZN, and we had to make sure that everyone was fine for us to be able to have a future. We made sure that anyone that needed support in terms of their mental health, personal help, the stores were closed, people didn't have food. So we had a team that literally focused on our employees just to make sure that everyone is fine. We've been here for over 100 years. In KZN, our first factory was in Maidenhof. It still is in Maidenhof. So our priority is to make sure that we continue creating jobs in the KZN area.
Nigel, for you, business owners who are trying to find some strength to be resilient, but they themselves are faced with the reality that they're trying to rebuild a business from the ground up because of what happened. At the same time, they were trying to, really weather the storm of COVID-19. Talk to us about the impact of what we've seen in the past year on the businesses that you represent.
Yeah, the unrest off the back of the COVID and the lockdown had the second blow in terms of an economic impact. And the role of the chamber was really to be the conduit to create confidence in terms of there can be a future. And the way that we try to do that was to try and stimulate the public-private partnerships, working very closely with the city, working very closely with the province, to set priorities to say we need to develop in conjunction with the province and the city catalytic projects that will stimulate the economy. Once you start to do that, you start to create the confidence. As both Vivian and Rebecca said, the resilience is there, but you need to create that confidence. And through public-private partnerships, by not trying to blame people, but say, we're in this together, public and private, let's work together. And that's really what the Chamber's been trying to do, create that confidence so that people want to rebuild and people want to be here.
Marcus, for you as a business owner, give us your reflections and take us through your journey up to this point. How have things been for you just a year ago?
I think from my perspective, I stand here, I'm representing the communities of Shalkos and Chatsworth, and we basically had to rebuild two bridges, the Mpembeni River Bridge and the Hans Detman Bridge, all at our own cost, resources sourced from the community themselves. Because we realized, and I think the Premier's words at his earlier interview with you is resonating right now when he says they were not found wanting. But I humbly beg to differ. They were found wanting. But we took it upon ourselves to say, listen, we're not going to wait around for handouts. We're not going to wait for some knight in shining armor to come and rescue us. We got down to the ground. We got the community involved. We got a little bit of input from the municipality, and we started to build the bridges so that people could get to work, business could go on, and we could basically get, as Nigel says, public and private partnership to stimulate. We are in this together. If we start blaming each other and basically casting aspersions upon each other, it's not going to work. It's time we all realize that we're in this together and we need to build the economy, build our province and get the people back to work again and stimulate our economy.
And I'll stay with you before I come back to you, Mr. Reddy. There's a lot of talk that I'm hearing even from you again, this resilience. You talk about resilience, and there's also been a talk about community resilience. Mm-hmm. You sound like you're also leaning more towards that as well, to ensure that even at community level, there is that kind of resilience that is built in order to ensure that what we saw unfold last July is something that doesn't happen again. Am I correct?
Absolutely correct. I think the indomitable spirit of the human person comes out and stands out, especially during the looting and the floods. You see people standing together and that commonality, that common goal that we all created equally in the eyes of God. And that's what actually made the vast difference in terms of where we are right now. We can actually say that we are going to win, put it that way.
Mr. Reddy, you spoke about, and I know, your hotel, big news, headlines and everything, but some people were asking the question, how is he doing this? At a time when there's just so much that has happened and big businesses are saying we are not coming back to KwaZulu-Natal because our businesses are not guaranteed. And I wonder, what do you say to someone tonight who is saying, I'm not taking my business back there?
I think what I would say to someone, that it is so important. It is a model obligation as business people in South Africa that make profits from the people of South Africa to reinvest. We got to create jobs. I mean, our projects have just created 2,600 jobs. And it is absolutely important. We can. I know lots of people are fleeing the country. They're taking money, the profits that they made in this country and investing it elsewhere. It's morally wrong. And businesses are flourishing. I mean, if you look at this place this place was burned down, it's being rebuilt. There's jobs being created, irrespective. The looting was sad, but also it's created a lot of jobs in the construction industry. People are building, and the message to people that look out there and say, why do I do it? And I think lots of others are doing it, is that we are born in this country. I could take my capital anywhere in the world, but I am a patriotic South Africa. I love this country, and I would continue to invest in it because there is a good everything. There's no problems do not last forever in life. Problems disappear. We've been to worst times in life. We've been to ups and downs in life, and it will be back. Good times will be back, and we must not focus on the negativity, just focus on the positive things. And it's the mindset of the people. I'm looking forward. I believe that we got great times ahead of this country. We got great times. Things are going to happen in all countries in the world, whether it be in the United States at an uprising. I mean, they almost, it was taken over. They had a resurrection. That didn't happen in South Africa at that scale, but if it can happen in the USA, it happened here, so be it. So I believe that people that think the pastures are greener elsewhere, this place has got great opportunity, and I believe that we got to have confidence in a country where we were born in, and we got to stay behind and build jobs, because at the end of the day, when people will say, what happened when South Africa was down, when people were all running away, I could say, I proudly stayed behind and helped to build the country. We got to all help to build this country, and that's how we make South Africa a better place, step by step. No matter how small the business, no matter what you are doing, as long as you create jobs, you help to sustain the economy. And there are lots of problems in this country. We, as business people, have got to work very hard to create jobs, because it's not the government's responsibility to create jobs. It's us as business working together with government. As long as every job that's created, you're putting food on people's tables and they won't loot. That's how you stop looting. The only way you're going to stop these things is by stopping poverty. And we as business got to be at the forefront in the fight against hunger and against poverty. And there are great programs like organizations like Gift for the Givers. They do great work, and lots of other organizations. People during the looting, during the floods, stood up and said, let us help. They didn't look at the government. They looked at each other, and we ourselves did more than the government during the floods, to help people, and during the looting. We've got together, and that's what South Africans are just so good. We're a great nation. We must think back. When I think about South Africa, I think back about when Madiba was crowned in '94 as president. I think of the 2010 World Cup. I think of all the great times in '95 when we won the Rugby World Cup, and there are lots of great times. If you want to be positive in life, you got to think about positive things, because when you think about negative things, you go backwards in life. And life is all about positive, because if you continue worrying about the security and worry, you become depressed, and you do that. The idea is to go be positive and take precautions, and most importantly, be patriotic as a South African.
And Nigel, you're nodding. I'd like you then at the back of to answer the question, what do you say as the chamber? What conversations are you having behind closed doors with business owners who are saying that we don't have this outlook because we do not believe that our businesses can thrive in that area, or we even have the will to go back?
No, it gets back to what I said earlier about creating that confidence. That's the role that the chamber needs to do. We need to create that confidence. And after the unrest, we sat very, very quickly with the city and with the province and said the number one priority for business is to create a safe environment. Safe environment for people to stay, safe environment for people to work and come and go and work in the community. If we can create that confidence through the safety, then we develop the catalytic projects and we start to see that growth. People will stay. As Vivian says, we can create those jobs by creating those catalytic projects, and that's what we've got to do together.
And how do you create those, though, at a practical level? What does it look like?
We've had some really good interactions, particularly with the city and in conjunction with the province, to say, by each one of the key sectors, what are the areas that are needing developments? So we could talk about down in the South Durban Basin. What are the developments in the South Durban Basin? Tourism. Vivian's already leading the way with the tourism. From the agri sector, from the clothing sector, try and identify the key sectors, the chemical sector, and say what is the stimulus or the catalytic energy that we can put in those sectors to create that confidence. And we've identified with the province 14 key areas where we can develop those catalytic projects.
Stembile, when we look at the impact that this time has had, as you spoke about it a little earlier on the mental health of the workers, your employees, I wonder what measures have you put in place for them, because they are also the people that must be healthy in order to be able to ensure that your businesses continue to run.
We have various services over and above the line managers. We have iCares, which gives support in terms of psychological health and mental health. But during the floods and the riots, our employees were able to contact us if they needed to, but to get professional help. The other issues that we couldn't deal with as the leadership team, that KZN was able to handle for our employees. I mean, they have access to the service 24 hours a day, and they were able to call if they needed help. And then we had a very strong security team from Unilever, which was on standby. If there are issues of transport, you were stuck somewhere, we were able to pick them up and. So I think that was very helpful for our employees. But I just want to touch a bit in terms of what Nigel and Vivian has said. I think it's critical at the moment as a province to look into ways in which we can collaborate. And I think it's important for private sector, for that matter, to be more intentional and more innovative in terms of how are we going to work with the chamber, the public sector, to create jobs. I know that priority would be to look into how are we creating more jobs, but I think the big question is, are we going to take an opportunity? I mean, I saw a study from the World Bank study on South Africa. They were saying that a lot of jobs are going to come out of young entrepreneurs. I think this is a call for us as corporate to look into our supply chain systems to say, over and above HR and creating those jobs, what is the strategy for creating young entrepreneurs in the country that will then be the one responsible for creating, we know, one entrepreneur in the country creates 5 jobs. So I think the call is the PPP is pivotal at this moment. But how are we taking the opportunity as corporate to look into now the young, the youth, and creating more opportunities within our supply chain processes.
Especially because the World Bank talks about 26 million people, for example, being pushed into poverty each and every single year. So that is going to be critical. Marcus, the situation, one would say, on the ground would have been dire if, people like yourselves as well did not decide to build these bridges. But the bridge is not only about a physical bridge that you've built. It is also a way of connecting that particular young person to town, to wherever that they need to get to in order to be able to get access to opportunities. Mm-hmm. How important is that going to be? Because this is a province that is still rebuilding and some part of it still need to be accessible. How important is that going to be in order to ensure that what Stembile, for example, talks about, where entrepreneurship is coming from, where employment is coming from, how critical is that when it comes to fast-tracking the economy of this province?
I think it's not only critical, it's absolutely crucial. The lifeline and the heartbeat of any country is absolutely the economy. And we just stimulate the economy. And how do we stimulate the economy? We need to start engendering the Elon Musks of this world and the Richard Bransons of this world. People that can come up and actually create the kind of employment opportunities and businesses. As Nigel said, agriculture is so fundamentally important in this country and in KZN. And that's what we need to look at. That's a way we need to look forward to go to. Our education system needs to rebrand itself. Think out the box. To tell people, you listen to young people, you don't have to become necessarily a teacher or a lawyer or an engineer. What's wrong becoming a farmer? Let's grow food. Let's grow food because we need food security in this country, and that's what we need to be looking at. We need to become highly innovative in order to go forward.
And I'm going to latch on to that because we're speaking just the day after International Nelson Mandela Day. I mean, you think about Madiba at the time when he convened the elders, for example, and I'd like to borrow from what he says. He says, together we'll work to support courage where there is fear, foster agreement where there is conflict, and inspire hope where there is despair. I wonder, what did you all do as corporate and as the groupings for Nelson Mandela Day? I'll start with you, Mr. Reddy.
Well, let me tell you, Mandela Day is very important to me because he was a personal friend. I traveled to 11 countries around him. He opened my Orphans of AIDS Trust when 11 children died in Newcastle, and I built a monument for them because I had a business there. He came and unveiled it. So we had a very personal relationship, and that's why Mandela Day is very special. In fact, if you go to the Radisson Hotel, the entire foyer, we create into a museum for Mandela. And we, as a business, have rebuilt one of the schools that was devastated with floods in the Lembe area. We started that, and then right in Umslangerock's area called Blackburn, we building a school center which we open in 2 weeks' time. And we also got involved, I think, with other colleagues here with the sanitary distribution of sanitary pads. But when it comes to Mandela Day, and given that personal relationship, it just we go out of the way. And we did lots of, over the past Mandela Days, we've actually built another skills training center in Lembe where 1,800 people have gone through skills training, and all of them are now employed, and of that 50 of them are business people employing people. And that was a project we started in the previous Mandela Day, and it's just so great that the world can reach out to this great icon. And it's very special to me, having known him personally, sat down and had personal discussions with him. And it really heartens me to see how South Africans and people around the world have got together, rolled up their sleeves, and done something special for Mandela Day.
And Stembile, for you, I mean, you think about sanitary pads. This is something that even the foundation, the Nelson Mandela Foundation, takes very seriously as they summit Kilimanjaro, for example. It's for girls. So what did you do as a corporate for Nelson Mandela Day?
I must say I'm very touched. You spoke about our employees' resilience. So what we did is during the floods, our employees, including the KZN based, they contributed from their own pocket. So for the next 6 months, we're going to be focusing on interventions on people that were affected by the floods. So they raised close to 100,000. Then with that money, we started visiting through the Devon Chamber. So what they did very well is they paired us with some NGOs that were working in the communities like Umlazi and Dunzuma and so forth. So we partnered with Ranyaka. So from June 16th, since the floods, we were able to visit various shelters using the funding that was raised by own employees to respond to a lot of things, personal care products, some it was food and so forth. So Mandela Day, we activated across the country in all our sites, our factories. So basically we work with the communities that are next to our factory site. I think what was exciting about yesterday's initiative is in Vlakfontein, we partnered the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and we're able to donate a library, a container library, to a center for young people. So they go to the center every day. This is where they get their meal. Some of the kids are from the child-headed household. So we had various initiatives implemented across the country by different employees.
And it's important, to get the reading going, especially
Absolutely.
because a lot of children need to still read for comprehension.
Absolutely.
So it's quite important. For you, Nigel, what would you say the Chamber did for Nelson Mandela Day?
Yeah, so, I think we need to just remind ourselves, today is day 99 from April the 12th.
Yep.
And there's a lot of small businesses that haven't recovered after the floods. You touched on it in the script that you read about the word together. And as a chamber, we try to encourage our memberships, big and small, to be together and work together to try and help some of those companies that have not been able to restart, and how can we leverage them together. So the key word for the chamber was this togetherness, to celebrate of course Madiba's legacy, but also the togetherness as we come through this crisis together.
Marcus?
For us, independent activists or people on the ground and small businesses, every day is a Nelson Mandela Day. We're currently at the moment working with electricity issues, sewer issues, potholes, rehabilitation of our parks. And I think also we're trying to, also Nigel said, we're trying to start a small business forum in and around the area where we live and with which we work, to get people to become professional, and also, like Nigel says, to get them to start working again, and to take care of the issues that they have, shared experiences, commonalities, so we can look forward to the way that we ought to go and the way we should go.
At the end of the day, it's all about resilience, inclusivity, and everything. Let me thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much.
I definitely
you.
do appreciate it, and I know I was saying off air that I'm glad it's not as cold because we are outside. So the Devon weather
Devon's the warmest place to be.
is really, the Devon weather has been kind to us. Thank you so much
Thank
to you
you very
all,
much.
and definitely, Mr. Reddy, we do appreciate the weather. That is Vivian Reddy, one of the leading philanthropists in KZN, contributing, of course, through his various initiatives in order to try and ensure that jobs are created. At the same time, speaking to Stembile Ngobese, the Director of Corporate Affairs Southern Africa at Unilever, we talked about even the importance of ensuring that even during this time, it's not only about just recovery, but what does recovery look like even for employees who have to come to work all the time. Speaking to Nigel Ward, the President of the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Marcus Richards, an independent activist and small business owner. And as the conversation went tonight, at the end of the day, it's all about trying to find some semblance of hope. Really trying to find some semblance of hope, Francis, because it's important that, you know, even in times like these, as Madiba would say, there has to be an element of hope somewhere. So from us tonight, as we play out with the song, we really are hoping that you get inspired and just have some hope during some of these dark times. From us, good night.